Okay, we're good here.
All right, I'm just
You
going
know
to
what?
forget that it's there.
Guys,
Yes.
just in case so we don't screw
This
it
is
up.
Matthew
Thank
Nelson
you.
right here.
And this is Gunnar Nelson, and here's your slate.
Perfect.
All right.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right, guys. So tell us a little bit about. Obviously, you're doing a big tour. We looked at the at your website and see that you're all over the place. You're doing this all year, right?
Yeah, we are. We're actually on track for doing 100 shows this year. We did 80 last year, and it's building and growing, which is great. The show's called Ricky Nelson Remembered. It's very different from Nelson, the rock band that we had in the early 90s. It is specifically to pay honor and tribute to our father, Ricky Nelson, who was the 5th largest all-time record seller. 280 million singles sold. The guy who was personally responsible for smuggling rock and roll into mainstream American living rooms at a critical time in its history.
Ozzy and Harriet, can't forget that.
And credited for inventing country rock as well in the second phase of his career. And we actually get to put together a multimedia show that incorporates this great video footage, the two of us singing live, telling stories of the behind-the-scenes goings-on, and really built it into something that people are really responding to, fortunately.
So did the tour just start? Because we were looking on the website. Did you just start this?
Well, we actually look at each year as its own thing.
Okay.
So we've actually been doing this type of show now for a couple of years. We've been altering it as it goes along. We find out, like anything, what works, what doesn't work quite as well. And we've got the show now to a place where we're really happy with it. And when we come to Alabama, for instance, we're playing a really intimate venue at the Merrimack. And about 300 seats. So every seat is a great seat. We've been playing everything from 300 seats up to 2,000 seats. And this is kind of how we like to do it.
Well, technically, we're playing 900 seats here. Because
Yeah,
we're doing 3 shows.
There you go.
Yeah, so, but it's nice. But since they broke it down to a more intimate room, every seat is a good seat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I guess that's part of it, is the show is growing. We didn't think it was going to last more than a few months, to be honest with you. We had no idea how many people, frankly, would miss our dad and the music and the memories and things like that. And it's connected us with who we are as people and artists at the same time as the audience, but it surprised us how popular it's getting. And Gunnar was just saying that he thinks it, and we've talked about it, it probably has something to do with, we all came out of 2008 kind of gut shot. It was a real heavy blow financially and what was happening in the world. It's a scary place now. And this show allows you to do what I think a great show should do. It lets you escape for a while. And for a lot of people, they go back to a place they're really comfortable with, familiar with, and learn a little bit more about that time, reconnect with that. And they're bringing their kids, we're bringing their kids, got a lot of fans of ours. So we're happy to say that the demographic that comes to see Ricky Nelson Remembered is 4 generations, just like our dad's shows were when he was around. There was always a grandparent, a parent, a kid, and a kid's kid. And we're good with that.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about the demographics. Obviously, you've got folks like Gary, and then you have folks like my wife. She's a fan of your music, of your big hits.
Well, I'm a fan of your music.
That's right.
Well, that works out well. I mean, it really does. So I'm wondering, so when you do Ricky Nelson Remembered, strictly Ricky Nelson music, or do you throw in a little montage of some of the stuff that she wants to hear?
Time for a montage.
Yeah, exactly.
No, what we do is we'll actually read the audience, and it really depends. I mean, if
Okay,
it's
if
really,
we're here and she jumps up and goes, and she's like sing Love and
there's a
Affection
point in time
or
where we
something.
say,
The key word there was depends.
We take a poll at the beginning of the show.
Oh,
we
okay.
kind of just ask if there's anybody that remembers us when we look like hot Swedish girls.
Okay. Oh,
and if enough
yes,
people scream,
yes.
then
Nice.
we'll do one of ours. But we do it in the context of this because it's got to make sense. It really is a Ricky Nelson night. But we are the only family in history with 3 generations of #1 hit makers. And we would not have been the third had our father not encouraged us from the time we were babies to be writers first and foremost, because of his own personal experiences. When he first started with the Traveling Man, Hello Mary Lou, all that, that was at a point in time in rock history when it was totally fine and actually expected for the artists to have songs written for them by professional writers. And then later on, during the second phase of his career, where he reinvented himself and came up with the Stone Canyon Band, the first ever country rock band, it was because of Bob Dylan encouraging him personally to really dig deep, learn how to write songs, and start something brand new that would be reflective of his personal experiences. Our dad said he got more joy out of that phase of his career, when he was perhaps a tenth as successful commercially, because he was playing parts of himself and exploring that. And he told us, if we were going to do this professionally, to learn from his example and be songwriters first. So we always did.
I guess it was, what he got out of Garden Party, which was a personal statement about getting booed off the stage at Madison Square Garden for playing new stuff and more importantly, not looking the same way everybody remembered him looking on the TV show. We kind of know what that's like.
I was
going to
say, you guys can relate to that,
Sure,
can't you?
absolutely. We sure can. It doesn't change. The story is still the same, just different eras. And he wrote, "You can't please everyone, so you got to please yourself." And there is something to be said about that. You can really spend a lifetime being who you think people want you to be or they require you to be. But there is a certain point where you kind of have to take a look at it and say, this is what I do. If you like it, great. If not, it's okay too.
My wife and I have a similar experience to you guys in terms of we grew up in Southern California and we now live in the South. We love the South. We love the cost of living. We love the people.
You used to have
we
long
love
hair?
the culture. No, I never did.
Never did?
It's the one thing. It's the one thing I never had. She always liked the long hair guys. I don't know how we
Your
did it
wife is
together.
bringing a wig home tonight. It doesn't happen.
I don't know how it
No, he
happened.
just
So
brought
your
me
hair
to
was
you
too
guys.
curly, and if you grew it out, you'd look like you had a fright wig.
A big
Yes.
booth. Yeah, I'd have
we,
a big.
we call that a stadium hat.
That's
That's
okay.
what I would have had. It would have
Robert
been
Plant.
Which,
huge.
by
There
the
you
way,
go.
would be very in fashion nowadays.
It probably
Yes, it
would.
would.
It's not going to
I don't
happen
know
because
what
I
fashion
do
he's talking about.
a morning news show, and my bosses wouldn't like that look on me now.
I
so.
understand.
But anyway, so you live in Nashville, and I think folks around here would think would be interested in your experience of moving to what I believe is the promised land. Even though I'm a native of Southern California,
Right.
and your thoughts and
Yeah,
feelings
well, we're
on
just
that.
up the road, and it
I'm
was,
fresh off the boat. I
Yeah.
can tell you exactly about my experience, renting a big 28-foot truck, loading it up. I think the maximum weight allowance on the highways is something like 80,000 pounds, and my truck was 79,850. Spent 4 days driving out, and I'll tell you what, I do love living in the South. Gunnar and I travel so much that we would always come in and out of these towns, and we had a really good blend growing up, I think, of being city mouse, country mouse, because we spent 3 months a year at least at a working cattle ranch up in Nevada. And I think we took that with us, and I think it kind of gave us a yearning to always, get to a real place. And we found that Nashville for us is a perfect balance of a vibrant music scene, but it's a big little city. And I guess what I'd also say beyond the cost of living thing is we travel so much. As you said, we're doing 100 shows this year, and remember, there's a day of traveling before that show and a day of traveling afterwards. Sometimes we don't string them together; they're one-nighters. To be in the middle of the country, which Nashville pretty much is, if you're talking about flights to most of the population, it's so much easier for us to get in and out of this city. For years, Gunnar has been in Nashville for 13 years.
Oh, okay.
And I just moved to Nashville and made the commitment, but for me to be on a plane for 5 to 6 hours longer every show than him.
Yeah.
There's a reason why I have more wrinkles and look sallow. Okay.
We know about that flight.
Also explains his
Yeah.
southern accent too, by the way.
Yeah. Well, Gunnar's twanging a little bit more than I am.
and to me, the best way I can describe Nashville and what I found being born and raised in Los Angeles is that Nashville now is what LA used to be 30 years ago, before it started believing its own press releases. Everybody's laid back. It's music-centric and artistic, and people are, for the most part, very supportive of what the other is doing. It's got all of the quaintness of a small town and the convenience of a big city all in one. It's half the cost of living. There's no state tax. What's not to love?
And
you know?
unfortunately,
I know.
he's been here long enough to tell me, before I got here, that bless your heart doesn't really mean bless your heart.
It took me 10 years to figure that one out.
You guys got anything? Because I'm
When you're singing tributes to your dad, you have to have a favorite song.
I personally do. I think we'd have different answers to that. I mean, live, for me, it would be Lonesome Town, because I love the fact that our dad, when he recorded it, when everybody else was coming out with big, huge production, on that one song, it was his voice and an acoustic guitar, and that was it. And it was really perfect for that song. It was really emotional and vulnerable, and I have the pleasure of getting to sing that every night, and I just really like that moment because it comes down from a big production to a nice, intimate little moment. I like that.
I think what also is identifying about that particular song is that our dad, realistically looking back on it, had a touch of melancholy. Because truthfully, I don't think he really, truly had very many people in his life that weren't there for some other reason, The same thing happened to Elvis. You know, when you're that big,
It's hard to know who your friends really are.
yeah,
Right.
and I mean,
Sure.
I guess the one benefit he had was he really couldn't remember a time that he wasn't famous because he started so young. He started on the radio show when he was 6. So, you know, I don't know. I think that when he would, I have a clip in the show where he says, when you're doing what I do and you're out playing shows, when the show's done and you're alone. You're really alone. And I think that's why he identified with songs like Lonesome Town. You know, at that time, he couldn't really trust anybody because he was just so amazingly successful when he did that. And I think it carried through with him. He had a couple of songs that were like that. We found one song in the archives. I don't think we're going to play it in the show, but it was, they call it the French suicide song. It's called Gloomy Sunday. And it's the most haunting ballad we've ever heard. We put it on a box set, but what the story was with that particular song, he recorded it when he was 18 years old, same time he did Lonesome Town. And when they got done with it, they were so afraid that that song would cause teenage suicides. Like, it's that haunting.
Yeah.
And he had so much influence that they couldn't release it. Ozzy decided we can't even take the chance of this because people will,
Actually, technically, that song has a long history. It was written in the 20s.
yeah, and
And it's a cursed song. I mean, people have been found in bathtubs holding a copy of the lyrics,
Oh,
and
nice.
stuff like that. I mean, for real. It was on one of these recent TV show,
Yeah.
but this version of it is just such an amazingly honest vocal.
people could probably find it on YouTube if they really looked. They could probably find somebody that's posted it, you know, giving somebody the idea for it. But as I said, getting back to the whole thing about Lonesome Town and songs like that, I think identifying with songs that were so personal and had a little bit of his personality in them. He wasn't writing his songs back then. They were professional writers.
But he was choosing them.
But he chose them. He was very much hands-on with this material that he did. It's kind of like when he did Teenage Idol. It was a sarcastic little hit at the fact that he knew he was a show pony, and he wanted to let everybody know that cared to listen through those lyrics that I'm aware of. I'm aware of what you guys are doing.
I would have thought Garden Party would have been special to you.
It is, and what's special about that is, you know, again, a different generation. It was later, and it was a comeback. '71, I think, is when that was released, and it was not only a personal statement, but it was a comeback. I think one of the comebacks of all music industry comebacks. I mean, everybody considered him washed up and done and a relic of a bygone era. And here he comes with this monster hit song that, frankly, a lot more people remember that song because of the personal statement in there.
Right.
And I mean, I identify with that too. I guess what I'm saying is songs that he either chose from a personal standpoint or songs like Garden Party that he wrote from a personal experience, I'm always going to identify more with. And frankly, Gunnar and I have had the fortune of a long enough career to we understand that people remember us looking different and making different music, and we're not ashamed of any of that. But you know, we're 45 years old. We're the same age our dad was when he passed away, which it blows my mind. And you know, we have to take a look at that and realize, you know, if you're winning the game, if you're getting older, and as much as we travel, as much as we play, we've gained tremendous amounts. Gunnar says it's a life well lived. We've had tremendous successes and unbelievable shattering failures, but we've lived our lives, you know, and every day I still now, you know, I'm really thankful for doing what I love doing. I get to do it with somebody in my family. And
Could be worse. We're not tarring a hot roof in the middle of summer.
Yeah,
Picking
you know?
strawberries.
We're not working at Guitar Center. God bless them all. You know?
And it's funny to even look at it, but Elvis was a twin, you know, and his
Yeah.
twin didn't make it.
Right.
And I always wonder, you know, it's been tough enough in this business just having somebody to back you up. You know, there are some days when I'm not feeling it, and, you know, Gunnar helps me out or vice versa. Our dad didn't have that. You know, it was
Good
him and
point.
his statement and his guitar, and he worked harder than anybody I've ever seen. You know, he played 300 plus days a year.
Yeah, it's important to note that
Multiple
this
shows.
is a man who literally lived and died for rock and roll.
Have you played here in the Tennessee Valley before?
Yeah, Gunnar actually did something with Pat Upton, who had a place
I was gonna
called
ask
PJ's
you.
He was
I was
Alley.
supposed
gonna
to be
ask you.
here. We were
Did
going to
you-
bring him with us.
Pat is a friend of ours. Hey, get up here, turkey.
Yeah, there you are.
Did you know he was coming?
No, we had no idea.
I love you more today than yesterday.
We called him like 3 days ago. You gotta come.
Yeah, so you gotta get this. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm
You
gonna
gotta-
get it. I'm gonna get it.
All right. We've been talking about you all morning, brother. Good to see you.
You boys are growing up.
Doing good. Doing good. We were talking about you on the radio this morning too.
Were you?
Yeah. We no, we.
I
we heard
invited
it was a
Pat.
weird thing.
I was gonna surprise
I
you.
guess they found some loot from your
From
house.
the house. I remember when that whole thing happened. We were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gunner came in and sang with you, right? And then your
Yeah.
house got ripped off, and
Yeah.
they found some stuff.
They found a pillowcase full of there was a backstage pass of your dad with my name on it.
Oh.
That was laminated so it was still good.
Uh-huh.
And there was a Polaroid picture of me that somehow survived and was still good.
Wow.
16 years.
That is
Now,
unbelievable.
did the pass just say, did it say, whip me, beat me, kill me? Was that the one?
I had a picture of him that said Rick Nelson.
Uh-huh. You gotta frame that. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm so
That's
glad you
cool.
got it back.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've been talking about PJ's Alley and all that, and
Yeah.
we got so much to catch up with you on.
cool.
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. You gonna come back up for the shows? I
When
hope.
are they? This weekend?
No. They're
The
on
first
the
and the
first and
second.
second
Oh,
of February. Yeah, we're coming
oh,
back.
well, okay. Then, yeah,
Yeah, you got 10 days to learn the set.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Let's do some singing.
do it.
All right.
I didn't want to say that when I called you, Pat, but I was hoping maybe he could join
hey,
you at
we're gonna
some
have
point.
to do
you know.
Absolutely.
That'd be
yeah.
awesome.
This has been the week for that's really cool. I got called by James Kirkland, our dad's first bass player, the upright bass,
kidding.
the upright dude on the first two
No
records.
kidding.
And we're playing with him in Texas next week.
And James Burton's been playing with us a little bit, and people are calling us saying, hey, I
Is
want to do
Dave
this.
Morgan still with
Yeah.
you?
Yes.
Is
Yeah.
he going to be here?
You know what? We might have to bring him in for this. If you're here, we got to do that. That'd be
We
fun.
might want to do this as a full band, man. We
Yeah.
were planning on doing this as a duo, but we might bring the band in.
I think we might have to do that.
Boy, that'd be cool.
Rip it up a little bit.
Okay.
That'd be great.
All right.
Yeah.
And John Davis is still around too. We haven't played with him yet, but I was thinking about
I
calling.
was saying about John the other day after I started just, looking at pictures
Sure.
and
We ran into Doug Altman too.
did you?
Yeah.
He did call.
Yeah,
I'll be
yeah.
damned. He
I missed
called
it.
me. It's been a couple of 3 years.
Yeah, I think I got to give him a call.
Yeah,
'cause
he was starting to play again.
Gunnar and I were talking about this, and we might as well do it right now. But we were thinking we have to at least once a year, maybe more, because I'd love to do it a lot. But
Well, we just signed with a new agency, and the agency also books a lot of the country rock bands from that era.
like Poco and things like that.
They do
Oh, yeah.
Poco, but they also do like Orleans, Ambrosia, Bread, all these
Oh, yeah.
all these killer bands. And those guys go out on like, a festival sort of thing.
Right.
But man, it'd be really cool putting a Stone Canyon band together and going out and doing some dates with Poco.
That would be.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, sure would.
Any chance you can sing
What?
one of your big hits? There?
Oh yeah, we'll learn. We'll learn.
mean on
Oh, I'd love to see you sing
Oh
that.
my God, we'd love to. We'll back you up
I
on
might
that.
That'd be
forced to do
awesome.
that.
Yeah, all right.
That would
I'm
be
good with that.
awesome. Because all I've ever seen is the YouTube stuff of you in the Philippines
Oh,
and stuff,
Just do me a
and the
favor.
original video.
Bring
of
that big
course,
old
yeah.
guitar that you always play. Okay?
that thick
Yeah.
175.
Yeah. Bring the 175.
I don't think I got that anymore.
Darn it!
I got a Barney Castle.
Oh, that'll work. That'll work. That'll work. Want to sell it? Ah, just kidding.
Can we get a few pictures with you guys
I would
before
love it.
we
Sure,
let
man.
you guys?
Sure.
Pat,
Come on
I
down
see
here,
you
Pat.
called. I see you called me twice.